Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, July 14, 2025. Time in Texas, about 10 a.m. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and for hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. Some of the things we'll cover today. What's going on in the tropics? Texas floods. The Appalachian Mountains are experiencing extreme crustal uplift, not seen before in geologic history, as far as I know. Some predictions by Edgar Cayce plus. So let's get started. So we have an area along the Gulf of America coast affecting Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. The National Hurricane Center has increased their probability of development, which I anticipated they would. 10% of the next 48 hours and 30% in the next 7 days. I would logically expect this to develop at least into a tropical depression, and currently it is causing heavy rain from Florida to Texas, and it's predicted to develop, I believe, in the next 48 hours or so. We'll see significant development, at least to a depression. And so more development is expected Wednesday through Friday. And it's slowly moving west and northwest. So that's the way it's moving. And now we have this. Yeah, we have what's going on in the Appalachian Mountains, which I, based on my knowledge of geology, find and would describe as somewhat alarming. So we have Virginia, West Virginia, we have Tennessee, we have the Appalachian Mountains, which according to the source Discoverable, seismologists have documented an dramatic uplift in the past week of 12 centimeters along a central part of the Appalachian Mountains. This is based on satellite, LIDAR, and so on. And I find this, my background is life, earth science. I find this alarming. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, crust uplift, 12 centimeters in less than 1 week. And it's believed that this is due to magma rising. Now, in the fall of 2020, I had that word from the Lord. Magma was rising inside the earth in all directions. So that's going on. Now, what do we have going on in Texas? We have more floods. We have in Kerr County and in Kerrville, Texas, where July 4, we saw the catastrophic floods. We have more floods. And they're affecting such areas as Lampasas and Lampasas River and other areas. So Lampasas River rose 13 feet. This happened July 13 in 2 hours. So we're seeing catastrophic rises in rivers and flooding. So that's going on. And the Lampasas flooding area is also near Kempner, Texas. Currently in the Kerrville area, the July 4 death count is now up to 130. including 30 children. We still have 161 missing. We've had renewed flooding in Kerrville over the weekend. So all of the first responders and all of the equipment that had shown up to participate in rescue and recovery have had to withdraw from Kerrville. So that's going on. And we have Lake Travis also flooding. And only emergency responders are allowed now in the Lake Travis area. The roads have been closed to the public. We have in Kerrville a new flood, and all rescue and recovery had to withdraw all vehicles away from the Guadalupe River. And now we have this. Yeah. So George Galloway, he's a European journalist, interviewed Judge Napolitano about the Epstein client list, President Trump's list, and it's well known in the U.S. by the American people and globally that the Epstein operation, his island, his ranch in New Mexico, his location in New York City and other locations, was engaged and was funded by the CIA, MI6, and Mossad for the purposes of a honeypot, and it's been going on for decades. And of course, the objective was to blackmail U.S. politicians, international leaders, CEOs of major companies, billionaires, and so on, by the deep state. And of course, there is a client list. So no one is buying that. There is no client list. It's believed and rumored that the current director of the FBI, Kash Patel, and Assistant Director Don Bongino may resign from the FBI sometime this week over this debacle, and that Pam Bondi, the head of the DOJ, is being set up as the fall person. And we have this from more about the Texas floods. We've had 130 deaths, 160 missing, including 30 children. And 100 miles northeast of Kerrville is Lampasas, which is also experiencing flash flooding. So that's going on. And we have this about the Texas floods. So from Kerrville down to Hunt and Ingram, Texas, we're experiencing catastrophic flash floods. The Frio River is also flooding in Uvalde County, which received 5 inches of rain over the weekend. And generally speaking, the hill country, central Texas, received about 4 to 5 inches of rain over the weekend. There's also flash flooding going on in Kentucky with 28 deaths. And yeah, so that's going on. And we have this. There's also Texas, in Texas, flash flooding in San Saba County. And so that's going on. That also received 4 to 5 inches. And now this is coming out about the Epstein client list. We're seeing the support and approval of President Trump going down inside the U.S. Some are putting forth that they believe President Trump was on the list. I do not believe that. I believe that there is a concentrated effort by the CIA, MI6, and Mossad against President Trump. And I would have to believe it will have to be some type of major threat that these rogue intel agencies are making against President Trump. And certainly these rogue intel agencies would have in their possession nukes. It's possible they're threatening President Trump with nuking part of the U.S. I would not doubt that. So that's going on. So now we're seeing President Trump taking America to war. And now we have this. Mount Rainier. Okay. So we're seeing catastrophic, as far as I'm concerned, this 12-centimeter uplift in less than a week in central Appalachian Mountain indicates that there are catastrophic, potentially life-threatening seismic events occurring. I would believe that this represents a dramatic increase in magma underneath America, and we're seeing other areas that would represent seismic movement and magma on the rise, and that would include Mount Rainier. So we're seeing a continuation of a swarm of earthquakes, 1,000 plus, going on. So EARTHMASTER, puts this out to 1,000 plus earthquakes, and in the Cascadia area, which is also a potential hotspot for the U.S., we're seeing a swarm of 97 earthquakes occur. And now we have this from ancient site about Edgar Cayce predictions. Now, Edgar Cayce was a Christian seer. He put out predictions in the 30s and 40s. And he put out a prediction, so Edgar Cayce, for July of 2025, that includes seismic events for Japan and the U.S. So in July of 2025, talking about Japan, would see dramatic moves geologically, and we're seeing in Japan that continued swarm of the Nike trough. And he said the southern part, which is the southern part of Japan, is the Nike trough where we're seeing the swarm of earthquakes. He said Japan would fall into the sea, and that also corresponds to a prediction by the late Christian prophet John Paul Jackson about Japan. And also that we would see a volcano erupt that would take down Tokyo. And what John Paul Jackson saw was headlines: millions dead in Japan and 1 million missing. John Paul Jackson's predictions correspond with Edgar Cayce's. And we have this. Yes, July 20, there's going to be a lunar eclipse, talking about a red moon. And I know we had just this week the buck moon that also appears red, and that there is much activity, and Edgar Cayce was predicting there would be much activity around the Ring of Fire, and we're seeing that. And now we have from the body language guy, President Trump supports Pam Bondi, but regarding her statement that there is no Epstein client list, and no one believes that. And nothing to see here, according to Pam Bondi. And that the American people are being catfished. Absolutely. So that's going on. And we have Laura Loomer, Steve Bannon, Alex Jones saying it's not believable. And the American people are saying that too. And we have from the Times of India that there was a confrontation at the FBI that happened last Thursday and regarding the Epstein client list. We know present was the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, the assistant director, Don Bongino, and the DOJ, Pam Bondi. The new information is that also present at that confrontation last Thursday was President Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. So that's going on. And we have President Trump. Yeah, he's going to put out tariffs against Europe. European tariffs are 30% to take effect, I believe, the 1st of August. Canada, 35%. Mexico, 30%. Serbia, 35%. Brazil, 50%. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.